If you're staying in downtown Puerto Vallarta and you want to find some of the most scenic and beautiful beaches in the area, I suggest you take the short walk south of the Los Muertos pier to the area of Conchas Chinas. You won't be disappointed. The beaches in Centro, the downtown area, are very popular and therefore very busy. And for good reason. There's lots of restaurants, lots of beach clubs. You can grab a chair, get your drinks, grab your meals, watch people. So if you're a people watcher, definitely the downtown, especially around the Los Muertos pier, especially to the south of it, is the place you want to be. You can go parasailing, you can grab one of those little banana boats, you can fish off the shore, but the big thing is people watching, sitting back, relaxing with a drink and some food. It's a great place to swim as well, especially near the pier, because the water there or the waves tend to be less intense, so it's easy to get in and out even on some of the high tide days. Now, if you want a change of pace and something a little more relaxing and quiet in a totally different setting, I suggest you head out to the Conchas Chinas area of Puerto Vallarta, which is just a little bit south and just a short walk from the Los Muertos pier. Once you get to the end of the Los Muertos beach, you'll climb over a little bit of a rocky outpoint or mirador, which is also known as a lookout, and you enter the Conchas Chinas area. And what's really nice about this area is actually a rocky coastline dotted with smaller beaches. These beaches tend to have a lot less people on them. There's not a lot of beach clubs or restaurants until you get to the very end, where there's the Lindamar Hotel and the La Palita restaurant. Therefore, there's not a lot of people coming to this area unless they're bringing their own lunch and snacks and blankets, because there is no beach clubs to grab a chair until you get to the La Palita restaurant and beach club. If you just want to go for a walk, especially in the downtown, this is my favorite walk in the area. It's just super scenic and super fun, and especially if you like to people watch. You got the Los Muertos beach, so you can see lots of activity going on there. And then when you get to the Conchas Chinas area, it's just this rocky coastline with smaller beaches and people hanging out as well. And then if you want a great meal, the La Palita restaurant is actually excellent, and I think the scenery out the terrace of the La Palita restaurant is probably some of the nicest in the area. So the total walk from the Los Muertos pier over to the La Palita restaurant in the Conchas Chinas area is only 2 kilometers, which is 1.25 miles. It's a very easy hike to do. You're walking on pathways for the most part. There's one little descent from the mirador or the Los Muertos mirador or lookout, and they put sandbags and new steps in this year, making that even easier. So I would rate this really as an easy hike, and probably the best in the area, in my opinion, especially if you like beach walks. So what we'll do on this particular hike, first of all, we'll walk down the boardwalk here past all the beach clubs, and we're going to skirt behind a little section of them, but on the way back we'll return right along the beach so you can see it from both sides. So this section of the beach is called Los Muertos, and it's probably the heaviest concentration of beach clubs. There's a restaurant on the left-hand side where you can sit down at tables, and on the right-hand side they have lounge chairs, which you can use as well. And they generally charge you a minimum fee. I believe it's somewhere between 400 and 500 pesos at the first 3 or 4 clubs here, but the money that you give to them is then deducted off your food bill. But check with them before you sit down to make sure what the rules are for this year, because they change periodically. The ones that I normally go to, the first one is Si Senor, the next one is called La Palapa, and this third one here is called El Dorado. The food in all of them are great, the chairs are great, but if you want one of the lounge chairs, especially right close to the water, then you need to go early, and in some cases you can actually request or have these things reserved for you, a few days in advance, and that's probably your best thing to do. So the first part of the hike after you get off on the Los Muertos pier is you go right and you just head down the sidewalk, and then once you get to Si Senor, you'll see this boardwalk and literally boardwalk, it is board, and you head down to the end of those, and then you keep on walking down the beach. And as you can see in this video, it is heavily populated, so if you're a people watcher, this is definitely the place to be. So after a short distance, the true boardwalk or real boardwalk will end, and then you'll come to a section of the beach less populated. There's less beach clubs here. I think some of them are associated with hotels, so they're a bit private. But anyways, as you move away from the pier, you'll find a section where there's a lot less chairs or beach clubs that you can sit out. It becomes a little bit sparse, and then you'll run into another section here after the bridge where it starts filling up again with beach clubs. And what we're going to do is once we get to the end of this little section here, we're walking basically around a wall. We'll be then moving basically in front of the beach clubs for a short section, and as I said earlier, we'll then when we return, we'll be walking back along the beach itself. Hola amigos. So at this point here, we're going to take a little jog to the left and then right again, and we're going to walk along the street to the very end. And at that point, we will return to the beach, and we'll be right near the what I call the seahorse statue. It's probably the iconic statue of Puerto Vallarta. It's a better way to say it would be the iconic symbol of Puerto Vallarta. There's actually two of these. One is associated with the Puerto Vallarta sign right in the middle of the Malecon, and then there's one on this beach. I don't know which one was the first, but they're identical, only a little different in size. So now we're going to walk along the road here, at least on this sidewalk, beside the road, I should say. And there's a number of different places you can get massages. There's a liquor store here. There's a few shops for clothing and so forth. But on the right-hand side is also access to a variety of different clubs. If you've heard of the club, the Blue Chairs, that is just ahead. And there's similar ones also along this stretch of beach. Or I should say road. So once we get to the very end here, there's again access, a little walkway that'll take you right down to the beach. That's where we're going to see the seahorse, or the little boy riding the seahorse statue. We're going to go left there, and that pretty much is the end of the Los Muertos beach. And at that point, we're going to climb up this little outcropping, which will take us to the Mirador de Los Muertos, or lookout of Los Muertos Beach, and we'll take a look there, and you'll see some beautiful scenery. And what I like about it, if you look to the right, you'll see this nice big sandy beach known as Los Muertos, or Playas Los Muertos. But if you look to the south or to the left-hand side, you're going to start to see a rocky coastline, and from that point on, the whole coastline becomes rocky. Now, another thing I like about this hike is that there's a tendency to be like a silty sand on the Los Muertos beach section, meaning that if there's any sort of wave action, it kicks it up and makes it look a little bit less clear. So it's probably not visually the best looking, but if you go to the Conchas Chinas area where it's a rocky coastline, the sand's a lot coarser, so even if there is a little bit of wave action, it doesn't stir it up, so you get those nice emerald green waters that you associate with the Caribbean. And that's what I really like about this area, as well as the south coast. Just the water clarity is fantastic, and then if you're around these rocks, if you like to snorkel, there's generally a lot more fish, of course. So snorkeling is much better in this area. So I think the ability to snorkel and be around or in an area that is a lot less populated and therefore quiet is why a lot of people go to the Conchas Chinas area and the beaches there. As I said, the snorkeling is good, but you need to go probably when there's less wave action, so probably not at high tide. And I always check and like to walk the beaches when it's primarily low tide. Now you can walk from one beach all the way to for Los Muertos Pier all the way to Conchas Chinas even at high tide, but it may mean that you have to get off the beach and go around a few rocks on some boardwalks or sidewalks or even streets to make it all the way to the Lindamar Hotel and La Palita restaurant. We are not at high tide on this particular day, but we're actually quite close to it, and I wanted to do that for this particular video because I wanted to give you guys a good idea of what you can do even though we're a couple of hours away from high tide here.
So at this point, we are back onto the beach and we are approaching the little boy on the seahorse statue. Again, one of the iconic symbols of Puerto Vallarta. I'll show you that in a second. And then we'll be crossing the Mirador de Los Muertos, or Lookout of Los Muertos, in which you can see all the way down the beach. Both to the right-hand side, which will be the Los Muertos or Playa Los Muertos, and to the left-hand side, you'll start to see the rocky coastline, which is associated with Conchas Chinas. So this end of the beach actually can be quite wavy, so if you don't mind waves, this is a place to go. And then right at the very end, it's a little bit rocky. I actually really enjoy this section of the beach. So if you want a little bit of peace and quiet and you want to be on Los Muertos Beach, this is probably the area you want to be. And the blue chairs and a few other places like this are a great place to hang out. But for me, what I really enjoy is actually walking this entire beach from Los Muertos Pier all the way to Conchas Chinas, and I think in a little bit you're going to see why I like to do that. The hike is just phenomenal, and the coastline is just beautiful. It's really hard to beat, especially if you're in the downtown. This little section coming up is such a contrast compared to the beaches in the heart of Puerto Vallarta with the little silty sand here. And when you get to the other side and you see this rocky coastline with the coarser sand and emerald green waters, it's such a contrast and such a pleasure to walk along. It's really something that you should do if you're in the heart of Puerto Vallarta, especially in Centro, if you want to experience something a little bit different.
Okay, I thought it had a different name. All right, so at the end of off, and it's got some stairs that you can go up and around it. I've seen it on videos, and I think I've been over it once.
So once we get over the lookout here, this is called the Mirador or Lookout. It starts to change the coastline into this rocky coastline.
Oh, okay.
With a few nice sandy beaches.
Yeah, it's a nice little beach down here. Very cool. Hola, amigo. Alrighty, so here's what it looks like where you get at the end here. Dave and I are just going to walk up and over these steps here. And sorry, what was the lookout up here called, David? Again?
It's just, I think, the Los Muertos Lookout.
Okay, pretty simple. Oh, look at this. It's like a secret cave door. Back here. Now this is another beach name over here, isn't it?
I don't know what it's called. So we're at the lookout, or Mirador as they say in Spanish. In Spanish, it's called a Mirador.
Mirador means lookout in Espanol. Beautiful view, yes. Wow.
Yeah, it's spectacular, isn't it?
You know the name of it?
No, I don't.
Yeah, there's so much to learn, eh? Here, where you going? New thing every day.
So once you have a chance to look at both sides of the beaches, the Los Muertos or Playa Los Muertos and the first part of Conchas Chinas, you can descend from the lookout and you'll start going towards La Palita, the restaurant that is, and the Hotel Lindamar. And there's this path here, and what's nice about it is that they've recently cemented in some steps, or they have some sandbags, so it's actually fairly easy to transverse down. And this is actually the hardest section, and I don't find it hard at all in the whole hike, which is 2 kilometers or 1.25 miles to achieve. So this is a nice semi-secluded beach here. A lot of people hang out here. I don't really recommend it for swimming because it's fairly rocky. There's a beach that's coming up shortly that a lot of people will go to, and then beyond that beach there's several others that a lot of people will hang out. And the one beach that people find, especially locals, find very enjoyable is Conchas Chinas, and we'll see that shortly. It's very, very picturesque, and if you want a little bit of peace and quiet away from everybody, that's the place to go. There's no beach clubs there or restaurants, so if you have a chair you can carry or some towels to sit in like these people here, you will find it a really enjoyable, relaxing place to spend a day. And it's only a short distance back to the Los Muertos area where you can find lots of restaurants, or you can go to the restaurant La Palita and grab some food as well.
Hola.
So if you're a photographer and like to take pictures of interesting coastlines like this rocky one here, then this hike to Conchas Chinas is probably perfect for you. It's easily accessible, and the views are spectacular, especially right off this sidewalk here. You can take pictures back at the rocks in the water here, but there's just so many interesting parts to it, such as this tree going right through this balcony here. They've actually built the balcony right along the tree. They got agave plants right there. There's interesting homes on the left-hand side. It just really is hard to beat, and it's such a contrast from, essentially across from the busy sort of touristy sections that you find in downtown or central Puerto Vallarta. This is actually known as the Beverly Hills of Puerto Vallarta, the Conchas Chinas area. It's just well established, some very nice homes. I'll show a few in a minute here. And, it's just a relaxing spot to hang out. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to walk this way, to take this hike. It's not very far. It's very easy to do. And it's just such a contrast to the other sections of Puerto Vallarta. It's just a refreshing change, I can put it that way. And especially if you like the peace and quiet of smaller beaches in a rocky cove, then this is really the place to go to.
Nice. This, I think that's chrysanthemum. This is bougainvillea. This area is called a mappus.
A mappus. Right, that sounds familiar.
A mappus. And there's the pier right there.
Pier there.
So now that we're past the Mirador, one of the first beaches that you'll come across is this one in Conchas Chinas. There are stairs right down to the beach, and we're going to go take those. But if it's high tide and the water is high, you can go straight forward and follow along the road, and then cross the beach beyond that. But it's not quite high tide here, and I really enjoy walking across this beach. But I know that there's a lot of people that actually come to this particular beach and swim here, and they also snorkel around the surrounding rocks. And the reason they snorkel here is the rocks actually contain a lot of fish. So it's just something spectacular to see. The only thing you need to be careful around this area is that associated with the rocks are a lot of sea urchins, and they're mounted mostly on the rocks, so that's obviously something you don't want to be washed up against. So I don't really recommend that you come here at high tide or when there's high waves. But when you're, I guess, before high tide, this is just a spectacular spot to just get onto the beach and start hiking across the beach and these rocky little points here and really get a sense of what the southern coastline is all about.
on these rocks. But we'll see.
So we're approaching near high tide, so I'm going to be scrambling over some rocks here. But if you go on low tide across these beaches, you'll be able to walk in front of the rocks on the sand and making it much easier to cross. But I will say that even getting on these rocks here doesn't make it overly difficult to pass by. But what you need to do is just check just Google high tides in Puerto Vallarta if you're in the area, and it'll tell you when they are, and then you'll be able to cross it at the best time. But having said that, we're within probably an hour or two of high tide, and you can see that it's not very difficult to pass by. But I like my preference, and I would recommend it for you. If you know when low tide is, that's the best time to do this particular hike. But you'll never have a difficulty. You can see the peoples on the rock here. You can always scramble across those rocks. They're a little bit uneven in certain sections, but they're very easy to get by. And it's only this section right here that becomes a little bit of the challenge. So we're going down this little walkway here, and normally at low tide, it's just very easy to run across it. You don't have to worry about sort of catching the waves or avoiding the waves. And then that's it. And then after that, you have no fears about walking the rest of the beach to the Lindamar Hotel and the La Palita restaurant. This was the only section where high tide sometimes have an effect on your walking ability.
That big condo is called the Orchid. No, gracias.
Impact on anyone else's life ever. I always say just carry on and I'll catch up.
And now we're on Conchas Chinas beach. I think one of the nicest beaches in the area. Certainly not too busy. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the best for swimming. There's a lot of rocks, and a lot of those rocks have sea urchins on them. On a calm day, it's fantastic. when it's a little bit wavy, and it's not too wavy today. It's a bit of a challenge. See Los Arcos in the distance. Conchas Chinas.
This is Conchas Chinas, so this is our destination to where we're going.
We're going to go a little bit past it to a restaurant called La Palita.
Alright.
And that's normally where you stop for a beer, especially if you're here between 12 and 1, because they have a 2-for-1 drink special. That one has seen better days.
So this is the Conchas Chinas beach, or Playa Las Conchas Chinas. It's probably one of my favorite beaches in the area because of I guess the rocky outcrops here, which I find interesting, but this little section that we're coming to right now is very close to the road in the Lindamar resort. It's just super picturesque. It's actually very popular with the locals. There's not that many tourists that come here. There's no beach club, so you just arrive here, you spread out your towel or your chairs. On a calm day like it is right now, you can actually swim here quite easily. You can snorkel around the rocks. It's just a fantastic place to relax and be away from the hustle and bustle of downtown Puerto Vallarta. But if you want to get some lunch, the Lindamar Resort or the La Palita restaurant is just up a short distance. So it's very popular with the locals. You'll see a few here. We're looking at them right now. They bring their umbrellas and their towels down. Just the perfect place to get away from the hustle and bustle of Puerto Vallarta and to be in a really, I want to say, angelic setting. I mean, absolutely gorgeous, and probably, in my opinion, the best beach or for scenic views in all of Puerto Vallarta in the downtown area. Oh, this is Conchas Chinas Beach, and we just climbed up the stairs, and we're gone this little roadway. And this little roadway, if you follow it right to the end, you're going to come up to the Lindamar Resort and the restaurant called La Palita. And in my estimation, the food here is excellent, and the views from the restaurant terrace are just perfect. It's just so relaxing. And if you would like, you can actually rent some chairs here and sit on the beach there and snorkel around the rocks there. Highly recommended. I do it quite often. There are some sort of umbrellas, natural like palm covered umbrellas that are associated with the hotel, so you can't use those. But there is a guy who will rent out some umbrellas and some beach chairs for you, and I believe they are associated with the restaurant La Palita. But anyways, we'll take a quick look here, and you can see the nice rocky coastline, and in the distance you'll see the La Palita restaurant. And I can tell you, especially at low tide, it's a nice place to swim and a great place to snorkel if you want to take a look at fish and things like this.
Real quality is actually so clean. You can drink it without treatment.
Real Quality's is part of their water supply. Most of it comes from the Amica River. Nuevo Vallarta.
Big river?
Yes.
Goes out. Like it's a branch coming out of the river, the Real Quality?
No. Two separate rivers.
Okay, so this little section of the beach you cannot really swim at. It's a little bit too rocky, and it can be a little bit too rough. And as I said earlier, associated with a lot of the rocks are a lot of sea urchins. If you want to snorkel, I guess you could do it outside, but I would recommend that you just move a little bit down this road until you get in front of the La Palita restaurant here, and there's a few open sections. It's a smaller beach, especially at low tide. You can swim out and around the point, and I've done it numerous times, and the snorkeling is fantastic here. And what I really like is this restaurant. The prices are great, and here's a pro tip for you. If you come here between 12 and 1, and I believe it's between about 4 and 5, they have their happy hour, so you can get 2-for-1 drinks. And when I mean 2-for-1, they're not half off. You actually get 2 drinks for the price of 1, and they're good size and they're excellent. So if you like margaritas, this is actually one of my favorite places to get one of those. But if you just want to sit back and relax, do a little bit of snorkeling in a quiet area of the beach and have a restaurant close by, rather than the hustle bustle of Puerto Vallarta and all the beach clubs there, then this is actually the place to go.
And here we are at the end of our hike, La Palita. Yep. Oh, let me go. At a Christmas welcome. Hola, amigo.
So the beach and the scenery just outside the restaurant La Palita is just uncomparable. It's just magical, I would say. They have these little umbrellas here with thatch roofs. There's always somebody here who's collected some local oysters and clams or other types of shellfish, which they're always serving. I will admit that I've never tried them, but I know a lot of people who do. And as long as they're fresh, they put a little bit of lime juice on to kill any type of bacteria. They really, really enjoy it. As I said, it's probably a little better to do this at low tide. It's sort of mid to almost high tide here. But at low tide, you see a little stretch of the beach between these rocks here. They form almost natural pools, and around the rocks are just filled with different tropical fish. Just a spectacular place to snorkel if you bring all your own equipment. I just highly recommend coming to the Conchas Chinas area if you're in the downtown Puerto Vallarta, and take a walk down to the Lindamar Resort. And the Lindamar Resort is about as far as you can get. There's no more natural paths after that. It's just a really special place to come. There's fewer vendors here, so you're not really bothered. There's a few vendors just in front of the La Palita restaurant here. Buying things from them is fantastic, but if you want to sit back and relax and get a meal at the Lindamar Resort, and then come on down here to the right of the resort here, or the beach club here, you'll find a vendor who will rent you some chairs and an umbrella. What we're seeing right now is actually part of Lindamar, so I don't believe you can use those. But it's just a special place to come. And what I will say is that Puerto Vallarta is fantastic. I really like the south coast. And this is really on the inside of the bay, on the what I would say would be the east side of the bay. But the south coast and this part actually really resemble one another. So if you really like this type of environment with the rocky coastline, then the south coast is probably a place you would like to visit. But if you want to stay in downtown Puerto Vallarta and within walking distance, then coming to this area of the beach, Conchas Chinas, is really what you want to do. So I just showed you in this video the complete hike from the Los Muertos pier all the way to the Lindamar Resort and the La Palita restaurant. And now I'm back to retracing my steps, so we're going to take it a little bit differently. We just passed over the Conchas Chinas beach, and we're going to cross over along the walkway until sort of a road section here. So there's no wrong way to go. You'll never get lost. You have lots of different options. If it's high tide, you can use this particular path to go either way, back and forth to Los Muertos Pier or to La Palita. So I just want to give you an essence or a view of what that looks like. In front of us is the Orchid condominium complex, and we're in the Conchas Chinas area, which is also known sort of colloquially as the Beverly Hills of the Puerto Vallarta area. So it's sort of some people think it is the wealthiest area. I don't know if that's exactly true, but it definitely is very picturesque, and there's definitely some very nice condominiums here. So if you're a little unsure and you want to be a little more on stable ground, especially when it's high tide, you don't necessarily have to walk along the beach. You can actually use these road accesses. And I will say that if you really only want to go one way, you can walk all your way to the restaurant La Palita and then go straight up through the hotel and go to the road, and you can grab an Uber all the way back to Puerto Vallarta, and it'll probably cost you only about 50 pesos for your return. I like to walk it both ways. I just find it very interesting, and as I said, it's only 2 kilometers or 1.25 miles each way. Just a nice relaxing walk, which I don't find very difficult, and looking at it from the different angles is spectacular. You know, not only do you have the beach, you have all these spectacular plants, and if you like people watching, then obviously walking along the beach area, especially at the Los Muertos section, which we're going to show you shortly, is full of people doing all different things such as parasailing or grabbing some of these banana boats and so forth, or just sitting back and having a drink and meals is really enjoyable. So at this point, we're about halfway back to the Los Muertos pier, maybe a third of the way back. So this is probably the second beach that you can stop at and relax on. But on the right-hand side are these actually gorgeous condominiums, and they built this beautiful rock wall here above the beach, I guess as almost like a tide break. I can't imagine the water coming up this high, but obviously that they've reinforced it. Maybe in the past it has become a problem. But again, you can see from the cobblestone streets here how accessible it is, and from the rocky coastline and the views here, it's just a very walkable and easy path to come along. And as you can see, there's not very many people here, and it's around noontime, so you would expect a lot of people. It's in the heart of the Christmas season, so the area is about as full as it possibly can be. It's very popular to be here at this time. But this section of the beach and area, Conchas Chinas, doesn't seem to be overly populated or touristy. So in this area, you find people who are staying at the resorts or hotels in this area, and a few locals, and that's about it, except for us guys who tend to live here 6 months of the year. We're expats and we know the area quite well, so we come out and regularly walk along it. So we are now back to the area known as the Lookout or Mirador Los Muertos, and we're just descending back to that beach. And this is the area I really want to show you. On the way here, we went behind all the beach clubs, so on the rest of the trip here, we're just going to walk along the beach in front of the beach clubs, and you're going to see how populated and popular this section is, and you'll see all the interesting things that you can do on this section of the beach. And I really like this section. You can see the palm trees here. You're descending down to the beach. It just gives you that real tropical feel, and this end of the beach can be a little more wavy. There's a lot less people here, so it's a nice place to sit out. But if you want to go to a beach club and be around a lot of people, you just head towards the Los Muertos pier, and as you head towards that way, you'll see it becomes even more populated, and there's lots of opportunities or selection of different beach clubs or places that you can decide to sit down and grab lunch or a drink if you decide to do that.
This is really wavy here. The best place to go, especially on a wavy day, is close to the pier because it doesn't have as high a rise. Oh, yeah? So it's the easiest place to swim.
These waves look bigger than what I've seen down there.
Yeah, just they're
always this big?
I wouldn't say they're always this big, but normally they're fairly calm down near the pier and they're wavy here. Just the way the beach goes up quickly.
Yeah, I've never seen quite a crest of waves like that. I've spent a lot of time on the beach. Like I said, I've been here, nearly a month now, and I've only been to the beach 4 times, maybe once a week for an hour. So I go to the beach. So I'm not much of a beach guy. I'm more of just a regular.
So this is the statue, the iconic image of Puerto Vallarta. This is the little boy riding the seahorse. As I said, there's a statue here, and then there's another one associated with the sign Puerto Vallarta right on the Malecon. So a lot of people come here and get their pictures taken next to this statue, but also at the Puerto Vallarta sign on the Malecon. So now we're coming in front of some of the beach clubs. There's going to be a little bit of an open stretch, but from now on, right to the pier is just nothing but umbrellas and beach chairs and beach clubs. And it's a great place to go. Most people actually hang out in this area as opposed to the Conchas Chinas, especially if you like to people watch. The beach is great. I think the only sort of negative to it is that it's really soft, silty sand here, which tends to get a little stirred up and make the water a little bit less clear when it's a little bit wavy. Other than that, it's probably the perfect place to be. And like I said, you're right in the heart of downtown Puerto Vallarta. You can't get any closer to all the restaurants, and many of the beach clubs actually have showers, so after you go swimming in the ocean here, you can rinse yourself off. It's just a perfect place to be, and I think you'll see that as we walk along the beach. And if you're looking for activities such as parasailing or taking one of these little banana boats out, this is the place to go, because there's lots of vendors that'll be here, and there's also a lot of vendors walking around selling things like hats or sunglasses or jewelry, or offering massages as well. So if you don't mind the interaction with vendors here, then this is really a great place. And I will admit that one of the things I really like about Puerto Vallarta is that the vendors here, yes, there's lots of them. They'll always ask you if you want to buy something, but you wave them along. They're generally not very aggressive, and they'll just continue along their way. Unlike other countries that I've been to where they can be a little bit, I guess, a bit of a pest and try to pressure you into buying something. The vendors here, generally they're dressed in white. They're the official vendors anyways, and they're very easy to deal with and very kind. One of the things I really enjoy about Puerto Vallarta is the locals are extremely friendly and extremely happy and extremely helpful. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of this hike. We're approaching the end of it here. If you like what I do, please like and subscribe. To apologize for all the talking I'm doing rather than letting you enjoy the scenery here. Unfortunately, as I'm walking along the beach, there's lots of music, and with the music presents me a problem because I can get into a copyright infringement situation. So I'm just trying to talk over top of it every time it occurs. So please bear with me. So parasailing is a very popular sport here. You can rent the parasailer for probably somewhere between $50 and $70 for a ride. It goes up and down depending on demand. I think these guys are quite negotiable. Obviously, these are US dollars, and they may tell you that the ride is about 10 minutes long, but it's probably closer to about 5 minutes. I wouldn't take one of these rides on a windy day because they've had a few issues where a line breaks or whatever, but for the most case, these guys are quite professional and quite safe, and when they land you, they actually land you right on the beach. They generally have a couple of guys bringing you down, so it's a soft landing. But I guess you'd have to value whether or not this is actually worth your time and money. $50 to $70 for a no more than a 10-minute ride around the bay to me seems a little bit pricey, but you might want to try negotiating with them, especially if they're not overly busy. And as you can see on Los Muertos Beach, we just passed one guy who's offering parasailing, and there's just another guy just down the way. I think there's like 3 or 4 different people within like less than half a mile, definitely less than a kilometer, that you'll find along the beach offering the same type of service. So as you walk along the beach, you might want to talk to each and every one of them as you go one way and try to negotiate the best price, and then on your way back you can select the one that actually gave you the best price or try to negotiate a lower price.
How much is it?
1,400.
When I asked this vendor what the price was, he said 1,400 pesos, which is equivalent to about a little less than 100 Canadian dollars or 70 US dollars. So I would try negotiating with him to see if you can get it for around 50 US dollars.
Back in there, then they have a steam room. There's natural steam coming off.
So we're pretty much at full high tide now, so the chairs are just set above the high tide line, but you can see the waves are actually coming quite close to them, and every once in a while you'll get a low rogue wave that'll actually roll through the chairs themselves. But we're right in the heart of Los Muertos, or Playa Los Muertos, so we're coming up to the most popular beach clubs, which are El Dorado, Si Senor, and La Palapa. So the degree or busyness of the area is just incredible, and there's lots of different vendors here. The last vendor is offering personal watercraft or Sea-Doo rides. I'm not sure what the cost of those are, but there's multiple locations as well where you can rent personal watercrafts and spend, I think they rent them by the half hour, and then you can go out all around the area and enjoy it.
Ostiones, el ostión rompe calzón.
Ostiones, which I guess is oyster in Spanish. Going, and we're like, oh, okay.
Well, that completes our hike from the Los Muertos Pier that you see right here all the way to the Conchas Chinas area and the Lindamar Resort and La Palita restaurant. I hope you enjoyed the walk, semi-hike, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I live in Puerto Vallarta 6 months of the year, and most of my channel is dedicated to the Puerto Vallarta area, plus some of the travels that I do in Europe and then in Canada. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, like and subscribe, and please enjoy your day. We'll see you on the next video. Bye now.